Hey everybody, it's your instructor, Brad Pitt. I know, you can't believe it. Yes, I know, I still have a face for radio. My wife even tells me that. When I married her, she's legally blind, so I made sure to always hide her glasses before we got married. Then on our wedding day, it's too late. She got her glasses on. She's like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" I'm just kidding. She is legally blind though. Her eyesight's horrible. Anyway, what we're doing today, there was a hair on my screen. What we're doing today is I want to show you some Excel functions. And there's a lot of functions in here. If you look on my screen right now, there's an FX button. It used to be called Function Wizard. Now it's called the Insert function. So I'm going to cancel out of here for a minute. There are so many functions on here, you'll never get through them all. And some of these functions here, I'm going to bring this up for a second. Some of these functions, like for example, let me just go to all. There's one called ABS. That's not anti-lock brakes. That's absolute number. So it means distance from zero. I don't know why you'd use it nowadays. Here's another one, ACOS. Returns the arc cosine of a number in radians in the range of 0 to pi. Well, that's really helpful. But even better, you're going to love this one. It's ACOS H. It returns the inverse hyperbolic cosine of a number. Yeah, 90% of these you're probably never going to touch in your lifetime. But there are some really helpful ones in here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one called PMT. Plus, by showing you this, I was showing you how to use Function Wizard, or as they call it, insert function. So let's say you're going to get a loan for a car, and the car is $10,000. It's a used car. By the way, I have 4 cars. If you add my 4 cars up by how much we paid for them, it's probably around $10,000. I have the average age of my cars is 20 years old. I keep my cars forever. Anyway, interest rate. I don't know what's a good interest rate, like 7%, let's say 7%. I don't know. My cars are so cheap because I buy like horrible cars and me and my son fix them. Length of a loan, I don't know. What's the length of a loan? 60 months, something like that. Okay. So I'm just coming up with some numbers here. So let's see how we can do this. How much am I going to pay per month on this? By the way, you know what? I'm going to change this for a second. I want to change this back to a number because I want to get into the right frame of mind here. 7% is really 0.07. So I want to make sure I'm keeping everything the same. Number, see, if you look up here, it's a general. Number to number and general. I could turn this to general too if I wanted to. It wouldn't be a problem. They're all the same. I didn't want to make 1%. I just wanted it to stick to be a number. And 7% is 0.07. So how do we do this? First of all, make sure you're in a cell that is not part of the formula, because then you'll get what's called the circular reference. I'm going to explain circular reference in another video, or if I have time after this one, I'll explain it real quickly. But I'm going to hit the FX function wizard, and the name of this function is PMT. And if I go to most recently used, you'll probably see it in there because I use this all the time for classes and such. So PMT, the way function wizard works, or insert function, is you click OK. And what it does is it gives you this box that anything you see bold has to be filled in. Anything not in bold is optional. Now, it says here rate. It wants to know, what is the interest rate? Well, I could type 0.07 here, but the problem is, what if I ever wanted to change the interest rate? This won't change. So instead, you normally don't type the value in here. What you do is you tell it where the value is. My interest rate is right here. Now, something to point out though, this, unless you know math real well, that you probably wouldn't catch this, but this is a yearly rate. 0.07 is a yearly rate. That's what you pay per year. I need to turn this into a monthly number. So I need to do a yearly rate divided by 12. That's how much I pay in interest rate per month. Number of periods, 60. That's the length of the loan. Now, do I have to change that to months? No, because it's already 60 months. What if that said 5 years? Then yes, I would have said B3 times 12, because that would give me months. But I don't have to because I already have it in months here. Now, the last one is present value. Well, the present value, this is a little trick here. You could do one of two things. You could either leave it here and choose B1, or I like to put a negative there because I'm in the hole for that. I click on cell B1, and then I've done everything here. Now I click OK. There's my answer. I'm going to have to pay almost $200 a month. Now, let's say I found a car that had a better interest rate, 0.03. Look, my interest rate went down, but I could only do that for 36 months. 90. You see, just by changing a few things here, here's the formula right up here. Now, oh, by the way, let me just show you something that a lot of people run into by accident. They highlight this, they're working with, they don't realize, and they click someplace else. If you are highlighting your formula here and you click someplace else, the system thinks you want to put cell, in this case, E4 into the formula. What you do, you hit escape. It clears it out. So if I'm here and I'm like up here, my cursor's blinking, or if you see this all highlighted and I click someplace else, the system thinks you want to put that into the formula. So you have to be careful about that. A couple other formulas here, like for example, here's a cute one that I've used. It's called Roman. Now Roman, when I click OK, it wants to know, okay, what number are you about to convert into a Roman numeral? I could type my number in here, like 1956. It's the year I was born. I know most of you, your parents weren't even born then, but I don't want to hear it, because if you do, you failed. There. That's what my birthday is in Roman numerals. Okay. So there's an example of typing a number directly in. I didn't refer to a cell. I simply typed a number in. That's fine too. There's other formulas in here. Like for example, there's a formula in here called now. When I say okay on this one, you notice I get a box that says no arguments. That means it's not going to argue with me. It means there's nothing to put in here. When I say okay, what does now do? It puts in the now. In other words, the date and the time. Every time I save or update this, this will change. It does not change automatically as the day goes on. It will still say this until I save or update this spreadsheet. So those are functions. Like I said, there's a ton of functions in here, some of which you will never use in your lifetime. But there's some really good ones in here that'll really help you out. So just to tell you about circular reference real quick, because I have some time. I don't want to make this too long of a video. Here's what circular reference means. Let's say I have the number 1 and the number 2 here. I want to add those two together. So I do an equal sign. You'll always start a formula or a function with an equal sign, always. I do A8 plus B8. I hit enter. Everything's great. Now, if I do 1, 2, but let's say I goof up here somehow and I start typing in the formula and I type equal A1 plus B1, B9, I'm sorry, B9. When I hit enter, I get a circular reference. Why am I getting a circular reference? Why did this one work? Because it said, take what you see in A8, add what you see at this moment in B8, and give me the answer here. When I tried to do that here, when I goofed up and pretended I wanted to add these two cells together, but put the answer here, what was happening was the system was saying, okay, I'll take what I see in cell A9, and I will take and add it to what I see currently in cell B9. Right now, there's nothing there. So the system tries to put a 1 there when there's a formula in there, what I'm saying. And now the system goes, hey, wait a second. I see a 1 here. I'm good with that. But now I see a 1 here. So that should be a 2. Now the system goes, oh, wait a second. That's a 1. Now that's a 2. That should be a 3 now. You see, it's going around and around and around. So a little rule of thumb, you will never, ever have one of the calculation cells in your answer cell. You notice it's A and B, 8 and 8. It's not C. C should not show up in my formula or function at all. If it does, you're going to get a circular reference. So there we go. That's a little tidbit on how to do functions. And remember, there's going to be hundreds you're never going to use. So don't worry about it. Just use the ones you need. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording and post this.